Hi, my name is David Konhoff. I am currently in ninth grade. I go to a private school and I live on a very nice island, St. Croix. And so the poem that I chose for my favorite poem project is The Greatest Artist of All Time. And I chose this poem because I feel that what it's saying is true and it inspires me and I really like it. So I hope you enjoy it. A guy came up to me the other night, right? And he's like, who's your favorite artist? And like most people do when they ask you a question, he didn't really care about my answer and proceeded to tell me who he thought the true answer was. And he continued about his struggle to recognize who he said was the greatest of all time. He said, is it Shakespeare? Is it Frost? Picasso? Michelangelo? Is it the Beatles? Rembrandt? Michael Jackson? Beethoven? And he went on and on and on and on about who he thought was the greatest, not recognizing even his infrastructure to answer that question was misled and outdated. So finally, I kindly smiled and said, okay, sir, now you asked me who is the greatest of all time. Now you tried to share yours, so let me share mine. Because there is no debate about who is the greatest. See all those other artists you mentioned? Yeah, the greatest made them. And this artist, he's a beast, a lion, the name above names. You don't even realize it, but you encounter his art every day. And he deserves all the acclaim, he deserves all the fame, because all other artists pass away, but he remains. Oh, by the way, his name is God, Yahweh, creator, your maker. He's infinitely creative, sir. There is no one greater. And I can tell it looks like you're starting to get mad at me, but don't be jealous just because your favorite artist might bend words, and my favorite artist bends galaxies. See, in the palm of his hands, he holds all the sand, the author of life, when he whispered, let us make man. See, what if I told you that you are God's poetry? You were created because someone else was creative. See, long ago he picked up his eternal paintbrush, dipped it in his glory, placed us in his story, and said, they will live for me. And I know it sounds outlandish, but we're not the product of random chances. In fact, we're not even the vine, we're actually the branches. And in the same way, we're not the artist, we're actually the canvas. Because in instant, God started to make art shaped uniquely and beautiful individual from the start, and he touched the canvas of flesh and said, this one is better than the rest. I'll give him so much of my image, so even when they're hot off the press, you can still see the steam of my breath. And so he crafted and he made every arm and leg, ligaments, tendons, muscles, blood vessels, arteries. He said, they're going to have a part of me. And about that time, the guy butted back in and said, that sounds good and all, but I'm wretched and filthy. God won't use me, will he? And I said, that's what's awesome about God. No matter what we've done, he can still use us. Even though other artists, once they've broken equipment, they start to make excuses. God instead doesn't refuse us, and neither does he accuse us. He redeems us, and Jesus promises never to lose us. So stop saying you're dirt. Stop saying you're scum of the earth. You ought to be careful about how you talk about someone else's work. Because if we trusted in Jesus, we can stop saying we're filthy. Because all that is just pride closed in false humility. If we truly believe that we're created in his likeness, we stop saying we're wretched, filthy, shameless, guilty. But instead, knowing if we trusted in Jesus, we are righteous. Don't you see we're drawn to repentance because of his kindness? So how dare you call yourself worthless when he says you're priceless? But see, the best part is, since God is ultimately for God, he'll get glory out of you, whether you like it or not. Because even temple ruins point to you, an architect, even if the temple is shot. And all I'm saying is that he is behind it all. So why do we insist on giving him no credit at all? He's the one that gave Van Gogh the imagination that changed the face of painting. Tell me who else was responsible for Mozart being able to compose at age 5 without formal training. See, he made the fingers that Beethoven used to make art on the keys. For Pete's sake, he made Stevie Wonder one of the best musicians of our time, and he couldn't even see. And that's why in the same way that our lives are borrowed time, this poem is borrowed lines. Because the most ridiculous statement we could ever say is that this poem is mine. Because we're not self-sustaining, no, we're not self-creating. Technically, nothing we do is original, we're just imitating. And that's not a diss. All I'm trying to say is this: even our own creativity is nothing more than an outflow of his. And so I'll end with this. You know that quote about giving credit where credit is due? Well, if that's true, it's about time we give God his rightful credit too. Because he's in the business of making all things new. And here's the truth: he's not through with making a masterpiece of you.